Hello, vinyl community. Another nice day in June, a warm day. My air conditioner is broken. We're kind of a little warm around here, but we're going to get through this one. I thought this week that I would do some rock and roll records and start a thing on Hank Williams, a story that I wanted to share with you. In 1968, an MGM producer by the name of Jim Veno decided to put strings in back of some of Hank Williams' hit records. Now, what he had in mind was simple, but the result wasn't. Never before in the history of Hank Williams records had there been such a controversy, both pro and con, as when these albums came out in 1968. Excuse me. People have either loved them and raved about them, or hated them and raved about them. The lovers of the modern country music sound back in that time were thrilled. Here's the great Hank Williams with strings and a nice choral of beautiful voices behind him. But the purists were appalled. To them, an idol had been desecrated. A masterpiece had been marred. Even drifting cowboys were split between their decisions. Don Helms, the steel guitar player, felt it was a new direction, and he approved of putting strings behind Hank's records. But Halis Buttram, the bass player, hated them and said so publicly. But nevertheless, the records were sold just as well as the regular Hank Williams songs, but it was just a controversy. This was one of the first times that this had been done to a legendary artist, where they have changed the background of the music industry. They're good sounding albums, and if you ever get your hands on one, give it a listen. They sound a lot different. A lot of people felt that without the Drifting Cowboys, it was no longer Hank Williams. But other people enjoyed them, and I enjoy them. There are some good, it's interesting to listen to them on it. Okay, let's get to the rock and roll. First album, one of my favorites, Best of the Bee Gees. This came out in 1969, before they changed their sound and went disco in the mid-70s. The Bee Gees, in my opinion, were an excellent group. Of course, a lot of the good songs on here. Holiday is one of them. First of May, Massachusetts, I Started a Joke, Spicks and Specks, a lot of good songs. Bee Gees were really a good group. They were a brother group, and they were, I like a lot of their early stuff. I've got a couple of their other albums. And in my opinion, they were good in the 60s and early 70s. Clapton Slow Hand, 1977. Cocaine. Wonderful Tonight is on here. That's the story of George Harrison's ex-wife. I'm sure a lot of you know the sound of that. What was it? One of the Core. I like the Core. Mary Levy and Eric Clapton do that, and I enjoy that track also. The Core by Eric Clapton. This is a good album from 1977. How about the Byrds? I remember being in Asmara, Ethiopia the first time I heard this record. I remember going over to one of my sister's friend's house to listen to it. 1965, one of the albums beside Mr. Tambourine Man helped. Of course, the Byrds did so many great things. Golly, Mr. Tambourine Man was a good album, and a lot of their other albums that came along later were good too. The Byrds were just a great group, and this is a reissue, but it was produced by Terry Melcher, and Terry Melcher was Doris Day's son, and he produced a lot of good. Of course, it's Jim McGuinn, Gene Clark, Dave Crosby, Chris Hillman, and Mike Clark make up the Byrds. CCR, another good album from 1969, Green River. These guys were on a roll. They were doing just great great music. Green River's on here, of course, Bad Moon Rising. And when I was young, there was a line in the song that said, "There's a bad moon on the right." And from when I was a kid, I thought he was saying, "There's a bathroom on the right." And believe it or not, I was watching a music video, and somebody else uttered that line. That they thought I thought it was just me that was stupid, but somebody else thought that line was, "There's a bathroom on the right," also. But anyway, this is another great album by CCR. What can you say? They were a great group. John Fogerty and company. It was a shame they had to split up, but John was doing most of the work in the group, and wasn't wanting to take equal pay for it. Here we go. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, So Far. This album from 1974. The painting on the cover, of course, is by Joni Mitchell. And one of my favorite tunes on this is Judy Blue Eyes. That was the main reason I found this album and bought it, because I was in love with the tune Judy Blue Eyes. I also like Woodstock and Our House and Ohio, but Judy Blue Eyes does it for me. I just thought that was an excellent song. And Crosby, Stills, and Nash, So Far. This is an album by Christie. You may not be familiar with them. You may have heard Yellow River was a hit in 1970. And there's another song on here called San Bernardino, which is a very good song. This album is great. It's got so many great songs on it. And I have never seen, I had to order this from a record shop in order to get it. I have never seen another copy of this album. I don't even know if, I'm sure they're out there. But it's just a good album. It's kind of a country rock album is what Christie was. But this, I just enjoy the whole album. My brother last year called me up and told me to record this album because he wanted a copy of it and couldn't find a copy. But this, you can't go wrong with this album. It's a very good album. Christie, Yellow River. And last but not least, another one of my favorite groups. This is Blackfoot Stripes. Of course, the Highway song is on here, which is and Train also, which is another favorite on here. And Baby Blue. And I don't know how many albums Blackfoot did. I used to have the other one, the second one that came out with the green label on it. But this is, I think, their first album, if I'm not mistaken, from 1980. And this is Blackfoot Stripes. And that's all I've got this week. I appreciate you looking. And but it's time for once again to get our satchel and go. If you like the program, leave us a comment in the comment section. We'd be more than happy to. Maybe there's something you'd like to see, or maybe something you'd like to tell me that I don't know, some information. But until we meet you again, this is Mr. Rick saying that if the good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise, we'll see you for long.